Hey ratbags, it's Jade. Today taking a look at the future of Grounded. I know the other day I proclaimed that Grounded could be dead, and obviously I was baiting all the negative Nellies to show that actually, yes, some things aren't happening, but there's still a lot more to look forward to. But I didn't really show off enough of Adam's own words, so today we're going over the 5 things that are definitely not coming to Grounded in the future, but 10 things that really will be. Tried my best to clarify and really perceive exactly what was being spoken about. It can be a bit difficult with Adam sometimes in generalizing and maybe still not giving direct answers, but we did get definitely some no's and definitely some yeses in the interviews he's done and the Casually Grounded. I will clarify again, I am obviously going to go over the negatives in terms of stuff that a lot of people would like to see added, but there is still so much to come. Obviously we've got the mystery of the teaser of the secret door. Shout out to one of the comments that said this is obviously indicating another boss fight, since there are now 7 screens in the game and there's going to be obviously 7 bosses if you include the assistant manager as the half screen on the side, that this might lead until another boss. So we're going to discuss that a little bit as well. Will that be with 1.3? Probably not, but it is something to bear in mind. While the focus definitely will be on playgrounds in the future, I don't think survival is completely dead and dusted, just delivered in a different way.
Oh, the lizard? I saw a lot of lizard questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people, if people data mine the game all the time and find stuff, I think the one thing is important. Like, a lot of people worked really hard on the lizard, as you've probably seen it. There's a mesh, there's animations, and it's one of those things that if it doesn't work out and if it's not good, we're not going to put it into the game. And we weren't able to make the lizard interesting and compelling boss fight. And I don't think the lizard will ever see the light of day, unfortunately. If it doesn't work out and we're kind of spinning our wheels trying to make it good, it doesn't make sense to continue to do that forever and ever. Someday you have to call it a day and move on to other things.
F in the comments for Lizard Boy people. I know this will be sad news to some. I've hyped up and shown off all the leaked files and the footage, showing the lizard boss fight, the armor, the weapons, and I was convinced that they were going to be just adding it alongside whatever next update they were going to have. But you heard Adam, it's just not fun, it's just not interesting enough for them, it's not going into the game. So even before they got onto the limitations of the consoles and stuff, this is really maybe at the forefront. It's not just about how much you can chuck in, it's about whether or not the stuff they are adding really adds value. As a player, we can get excited about just a new boss, a new creature to fight, because a lot of survival fans do just want that. But what is beyond that? What are you going to be doing in a week's time once you've defeated it, got its armor, and ploughed through all the new content? Adam then did reference and name check things like the silverfish and the water strider as also creatures that are not coming. So I think it's safe to say also things like the ant queen, obviously leeches, and the earwig, they will also never see the light of day in Grounded currently as it stands. There are so many bugs already in Grounded. What can these new bugs that get added really offer? What are they going to give us as an experience different? These are the kind of questions that the devs think about, obviously, when they're deciding what goes into the game or not. And ultimately, they're still a tiny team. It takes lots and lots of developers to animate, structure, and create all of these new bugs. Hence why we have seen reskins, but then obviously added or changed some of the combat moves and a little bit of the AI, because they just don't have a huge team behind them. In other interviews, Adam has explicitly said they're happy with where the backyard is at the moment. It's fully fleshed out with the 1.0 update and the Brawny Boy bin, and they want to really focus on the playgrounds for a while.
Yeah, so the lizard, maybe someday will make another appearance, but right now, yeah, the lizard, don't ever expect it to be grounded.
So yes, that does mean the shed is also cancelled, and that's number 2. This one is all about performance. They have said that they just can't simply chuck all of this into the game, that it's kind of starting to creak with so much content it's already got in it. We already know that they kind of butchered this shed and added it to the rest of the game anyway, things like the wasp nest. And if you look around the shed, there is so much of this stuff that we have seen around the back of the yard, from the charcoal bags, from a lot of the other bits and bobs like the computer, This was made literally, I think, before we had the Haze update really go through, or before we had all the rubbish added. It was definitely something very, very early that they were working or focused on. And they've basically just cannibalized it and put it in other places in the backyard. This then leads on to number 3. They are not going to leave any console generations behind. And this is maybe part of the reason the shed never really got worked on as well. Basically, Xbox One is never not going to get updates. They've said they want everyone to get them. It'd be unfair for Xbox One players if they started doing updates only for the Series S and X. You got to applaud this as well. Like, seriously, this is a big manoeuvre. It has happened to a bunch of games already, or they've had to have remasters like Ark. Even Minecraft cut off support, I think, on Xbox 360 quite early, relatively, when the Xbox One came out for Minecraft. And there's a fair few other games doing this now as well. So it's good to see in a way, for sure. Of course, it will open up the prospect of a Grounded 2 appearing maybe sooner than we think. But again, that's kind of spoken about, and I'll go through that as well. Now, one thing that I may have overhyped or baited probably a little bit too much was that during the takeover of Activision by Microsoft, they did have their executives saying they're going to make sure that lots of games are going to be available for other platforms like Nintendo Switch and maybe obviously PlayStation. So I probably ran with that a little bit in like one video I did talking about the possibilities of seeing Grounded on other places. So no, we're not going to get it also running on a PlayStation ever or a Switch. According to their community support guy, Chris, he answered this question only recently in another stream.
You know, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, that memory is a huge issue for us in making sure the game runs on the Xbox and the Xbox One. And the shed, just like we worked on it. We tried to figure it out, and it was pushing the limitations of what we could do. And a lot of things, if we don't want to ship bad things, like we want to make sure the quality is really high on everything that we're doing, and some things just don't work out, and that's game development. Making games is kind of a difficult process a lot of times, and you have to make these difficult decisions, and that's something that the team decided to kind of pivot to, and we decided instead of like the shed, let's try something smaller that could fit in memory, and that's where the Wasp Queen's Lair and the Brawny Boy bin came to be.
Number 4, dedicated servers. This again was on the roadmap for a good long time, but it obviously isn't coming. Now, most people kind of realised this when they added the shared world feature. That is pretty much meant to be instead of it. It means that players can carry on playing on your worlds, and that's pretty much just it. That is their version of multiplayer. I was always hoping that we'd have something like Minecraft Realms added, where we'd be able to have maybe 10 players on a server that you'd be able to rent out or whatever directly through Xbox or Microsoft. But again, they confirm in this stream, Adam, that they've got no plans to increase the number of players, particularly obviously in Playgrounds mode, and you've got to assume that's across the rest of the game.
Doug asks, are there going to be any seasons or cycles of like weather or stuff like that, like rain or mist in the game?
Yeah, that's something that was on our wish list for Grounded. I don't think it's going to happen, just because there's a lot of technical challenges, and again, we're pushing the limits of what we can do with Grounded right now.
Again, this is a shame. I don't think it's always been the be-all, end-all though. We've seen in games like Smallland how weather actually isn't that great, or certainly they haven't implemented it in an amazing way. It just means in winter you've got to eat more foods that will give you more heat. They've still not managed to make that game interesting enough that during seasons you get more of one resource, less of another, or there's areas to explore that you wasn't able to explore because lakes have frozen over. And that's really what I would want weather to do if Grounded ever did something like that, or in the sequel. Having just some arbitrary items look wet because it started to rain, what is that really offering? What is that really changing or doing with the game? Why go to the effort of having to create brand new art or brand new meshes for the whole backyard with everything with a wet look or snow or ice if it's got no real functionality? Again, other than maybe something like you've got to eat some more meals or possibly wear some warm armour. For sure, I've always wanted a winter biome, ice, snow cubes, whatever it is you can think of, igloos that we'd be able to build. That sounds freaking cool, and maybe that's something they could add with the Playgrounds mode in the future. So that was number 5. I feel like they're the 5 things that are probably the most important, raised the most from players about what they want to see added. Obviously, if you're going by what they've said, it's a given they're not going to be adding new armor and weapons since there are no new bugs and there are no new biomes being added. So why am I not in a rage? Why am I not crying like lots of other people? Oh, it's the end Grounded. There's no survival. There's no story mode. Well, it's not just me getting behind Playgrounds because I think it's going to be good. They have also come out with a bunch of stuff that will be happening with Grounded, and there is going to be stuff for survival, but I think it's going to be delivered in a very different way. So let's look at what is actually coming in future. Some survival stuff in future. Focus will be on Playgrounds for the time being, but I've already gone over the Windows Central interview that Adam Brennicky did. They've still got a ton of ideas they want to get into the game, and although the end in sight is here for Grounded maybe in the future, it's still a long ways off. What I got repeatedly from this interview and the way that Adam was talking, the backyard is absolutely done in terms of adding new features, new creatures, new items, but maybe the addition of these playgrounds and the idea that Adam says we've got more to explore, that will obviously be the most obvious thing. That will have just a new map added, and it won't be DLC, it'll be something just created by Obsidian, like a free expansion, another new backyard, smaller in scale maybe, but maybe giving us the opportunity to encounter new weapons, new gear, maybe possibly new bosses, and maybe even new creatures or new ways to interact.
We are, something that we think about every day, of how do we continue Grounded. Right now, we do, we're thinking about it, we're talking about it. We saw more stuff that we're adding to Grounded, as you can see with this update. And there's more to come, and we'll be talking about kind of the future of Grounded at some point in the future.
And again, we also get confirmation in this by that doorway. You're not adding a teaser to something if you're not going to deliver with something fresh and brand new for survival in the future. I've gone over this already, so quickly, is it going to be the Rift Exploratory Squad? Are we going to find maybe the humongous boss behind here? Will it just lead to teleportals that will take us to other backyards that will be a continuation of survival, but kind of not? Giving the devs freedom to make new additions, new ways of playing the game, but not have it interfere with your progress that you've already made in the backyard.
Will players be able to add water or the pond area in the grass box?
That's a good question. Right now, water cannot be manipulated. We do have a couple water areas in the grass box, but nothing like the koi pond. It's something that, if there's enough interest, we are discussing if the grass box turns out to be a cool, empty space, can we do other environments from the yard, such as the koi pond, sandbox, even something, like the undershed, so you can kind of get that as a base to build off of.
So there you go, you heard it. If it's popular, we will get more playgrounds to mess around with and create even more custom worlds.
There's a lot of cool, there's labs, there's anthills. They're not populated right now with creatures, but very soon there'll be playgrounds that will have all those areas fully populated, and a lot of content in those areas. But
it's hard dissecting exactly what Adam means here. Does he just mean that player user content, we're going to create the dungeons in the playgrounds, or does he mean Obsidian tailor-made maps or adventure maps that they're going to make? I'm going to go, as I said earlier, with the former, that I think it is a case of Obsidian also doing some special playground maps themselves that will give opportunities to go in some of these laboratories and anthills as smaller, more compact little adventures. They are absolutely working on a way that will be able to rate maps and take a look at maps in a store format rather than just sharing via code. They've heard it loud and clear, and it was given to creators, that info, straight away pretty much when we got our hands on the update before everyone else, that this was in the works. So it may not be here for 1.3, but in the future afterwards. Adams also spoke and said they're looking at workarounds at the moment, how you can make your creative worlds right now into fully blown playground worlds. So if you've already built an arena, you've already built some parkour map, there will be a way to convert that into a playgrounds map and expand on that even more. One that came from their interview with a Windows Central was the idea that they're going to have a win or lose condition, so that is going to be implemented sooner rather than later, because at the moment there's no real way to reset your maps other than just playing for it once and then starting up a brand new fresh version of it. But it does look like they are going to add some maybe gizmos that give an option to wipe the world or reset all the way back to the beginning. They also have plans for the future for add in better AI controls for creatures. You might be able to determine whether or not they're going to be aggro, they're going to be peaceful, individual ones. You'll be able to literally change the AI of bugs and creatures in Grounded. Their behaviours, how they walk, how they move. This is a really cool feature that could open up even more in terms of playgrounds. The animated TV show is still on its way. No kind of reason why we haven't heard about it or what's going on with it, but this was revealed in the Windows Central interview. Adam seemed pretty excited about it, but yeah, no details given other than it's still on its way. And number 10, even more expansion on Grounded. It isn't just simply the one and done game and that's it, they're never going to make anything Grounded related again. We're still in the air about whether or not it really is going to be a sequel. Again, that same interview really went over the idea that there is a kind of end in sight for Grounded, but they've still got a long way to go with Playgrounds content, mainly the focus, with smaller amounts of maybe survival or some sort of expansions in a different way. But I did come across like they're also looking at other different types of game and media as well. Very much seems like we will see a Grounded 2 revealed probably in the next 18 months and possibilities of Grounded spin-offs. Maybe something again like I mentioned before, a Minecraft Dungeons-esque game, maybe a proper Dungeons and Dragons style turn-based Grounded game. Who knows, but they are going to be expanding on the IP and we're going to definitely see more Grounded themed stuff happening. So there we go folks, I wouldn't expect any more real additions to the backyard other than seasonal events. Also, little spoiler extra one, we are getting the fireworks event happening at New Year's. So if you see the fireworks in the creative design mode at the moment, that's going to be available for everyone. And it'll just be like the other seasonal stuff we've got. You'll have to spend some raw science in the burgle shop to unlock the brand new fireworks. It is sad that some things have been cancelled or we don't think they're going to be added to the game, and I still feel like they could be just a bit more clearer with a roadmap about what exactly they're going to be working on in the next 6 months at least. But for sure, the focus will be on Playgrounds, adding new functionality, new gizmos, new items and props, new ways to connect, adding new features to it like the win-lose conditions. And alongside that, I'm guessing we're going to get smaller little teases, little updates, like maybe a boss fight as we saw, or a way to transport a character to, I guess, officially endorsed playgrounds, possibly by Obsidian, ones that they've made in their playground sandbox, but just not actually directly attached to the backyard right now. Heavy dose of speculation there, but that's what I think is going to happen with this doorway, or possibly the future, judging by what Adam has kind of said. What are you sad about? What are you hyped for with the future? Let me know in the comment section down below, and yeah, effing chat for the lizard, the ant queen and all the other stuff, but the future of Grounded is certainly still massively bright. I can't wait to see where they go next. Until next time, laters.